Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sanjita here, and today we're going to be ranking every ship in Galaxy of Heroes, aside from capital ships. Now there are 54 of them, which sounds like a lot, but it is a little bit less than the Scoundrel faction, I believe. So I'm going to try to be quick as I go through each of them and just say a little bit. Going through them in alphabetical order, they're all ranked in comparison with each other. I kind of think of them in their best situation with their best fleet, but I do kind of give a little bump if something has some plug and play viability and works kind of anywhere. First, we're looking at Ahsoka Tano's Starfighter. This is a great ship. It's bottom of A tier. Usually is in a starting lineup on a negotiated fleet. The last meta before we had these Galactic Legend level ships. So solid ship, flips debuffs, does a lot of damage. Next we got Anakin Starfighter, so right next to his buddy, or his Padawan Ahsoka, and he is our first S-tier ship. I bumped him up to S-tier because he is the backbone of the Negotiator fleet, but he does have plug-and-play viability with getting his bonus turn, regardless of faction, and that AoE can be pretty nice, unavoidable basic, just a great ship, especially on Negotiator. Next, we got the B-28 Extinction Class Bomber, the Sith Bomber for short, and this is bumped up just because of Leviathan. I have it above Ahsoka towards the bottom of A tier, but it is a very solid defender, very hard to get it down when combined with the rest of that fleet. So definitely seen a big bump, and those thermal detonators can be really annoying and can kill you if you're not careful. Up next, we got Biggs Starfighter, and he is middle C tier. Back in the early days of ships, towards the beginning, he was actually one of the best ships because of his persistent taunt, his protection recovery, but now he's kind of an afterthought. If you use him in a profundity lineup, you're probably doing it wrong, and if you set him, he's going to come out and make it easier for your opponent in a mirror. But he still has decent use. He's just fine with Home 1 fleet, which isn't a really strong fleet anymore, but he definitely merits at least mid-C tier. Speaking of similar to Biggs, we got Biston's U-Wing, and it is a little bit below him in C tier. This ship relies on turn meter. It was very useful back before Profundity came out because it allowed Home 1 to beat the triple attacker executor lineup, but with Profundity, turn meter is irrelevant, so this is kind of fallen by the wayside. So it's on that Home 1 leftover fleet, not too much use anymore, so low C tier for that. After that, we have the BTL Y-Wing, or the bacon, lettuce, and tomato Y-Wing. This is just the go-to tank for a Negotiator fleet. Not as good as Houndstooth overall, but it works very well in that fleet. Can be very annoying, gets extra protection per Galactic Republic ship that is out there. So definitely very solid, really a necessity in that starting lineup for Negotiator, although some don't use it. You pretty much always see it in that starting lineup. After that, we have Cassian's U-Wing, mid-C tier. The best thing about this is it dispels all buffs on the enemy team in reinforcement and can call an assist, so it's kind of nice. Requires 3 pilots though to level up, so I'm not a big fan of the triple pilot ships. After that, we got Clone Sergeant's Tank, or Clone Sergeant's Arc 170. Not the best ship. It's at the bottom of D tier. The only thing going for it is it has kind of a self-sustaining taunt when it has protection, and you can kind of mix and match it on any fleet if you just need a tank to come in, but it's not a super impressive tank, so it's not changing the tide for you at any time either. Next we got Ebon Hawk, and Ebon Hawk, it's a utility ship. It's not going to be useful in all circumstances, but it's a great add-on to Executor fleet, or if you're going against Executor fleet, because of that chaff to help get around the target lock. But it does have a mass dispel, just like Cassian U-Wing, but it has a little bit more utility, so it is higher up in the C tier, at least in my opinion. And after that, we got Emperor's Shuttle, and to me, this is a great, solid B tier ship. This is what kind of sparked my thinking back when I was trying to figure out how to counter Profundity with an Empire fleet. This is a key element in that, keeping your ships alive, getting all the extra protection up, and actually has really great damage. If you look at its special damage stat, it's extremely high. It's like over 20,000 at some point, which is, you don't really see that on a ship, but definitely very solid overall. Moving on, we got a couple of lackluster ships in a row here, so I'll show them both. We got First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter and First Order TIE Fighter. Special Forces a little bit better than just normal First Order TIE Fighter because it calls an assist. Really helps in that counter of First Order versus the Executor, if you can get it to work, just the assist to help control Houndstooth. So that's the only thing that bumps it up. Otherwise, they are very much lackluster ships. After that, we have Fury-class Interceptor, and this is towards the top of the A tier. This is really what makes that fleet shine with Leviathan, because Leviathan isn't doing too much to bolster the ships themselves. And we see the impact of the Fury just from how well it can do even without Leviathan capital ship. If you put all those ships together, Fury with the Sith Bomber, with a third Sith starter, and put it on another fleet like Mace or Thrawn, it can be devastating. I lost with Executor versus a Thrawn with those ships, so it is not anything to sneer at. It's a very strong ship, very much good for survivability and utility. Great ship. All right, next up we got Gauntlet Starfighter, and that is towards the bottom of B tier. For me, I love it. I love the extra survivability it gives. I use it all the time now with if I'm trying to counter Profundity with Executrix, even though I haven't seen Profundity on offense really since Leviathan came out. But very fantastic ship, super fast too. It really gets out there. That cleanse is super useful. Just love the ship. Next up, we got Geo Soldier Starfighter, which is the one without the little speck on the tip. And it's mid-C tier. You know, it's got decent damage. I like the assists it calls, but it falls far short of Geonosian Spy, which is a lower A tier. Spy calls a mass assist, and it can as a reinforcement, it can force a taunt on a character that's not taunting, which is very important, very unique capability. So it's much better than the Soldier Starfighter. And I actually lost an entire Grand Arena a while ago, way before I was doing YouTube, because I clicked Reinforce with Soldier instead of Spy. So that's why they're 2 tiers apart. Spy is just way better. Next up, we got the Ghost, and that is low C tier. It works in that Profundity fleet because just Profundity kind of bent over backwards to call out ships like this because it's a cargo ship and it's a rebel. But overall, I don't think it's super useful. I might be slighting it a bit. It does call an assist and do an AoE that's an ability block if they have target lock, but overall, I don't think it's too impactful. I will a lot of times just opt to bring Cassian's Wing instead of this because I think the assist is a little bit better with the debuffs it inflicts. But after that, we have a real superstar. We have Han's Millennium Falcon. And if you can tell by the spacing, this is number 3 on the list. So just go ahead and speculate what the first 2 are. This ship really changed the game when it came out. It was the first legendary ship in late 2018, I believe, and with Home 1, it took Home 1 from 0 to hero. It's just, I don't know, it's such an amazing kit. All the assists, all the dispelling, the cleansing on your own team, the dodging, it's just a spectacular ship. So one of the absolute best ships in the game, but we can get real quick to one ship that's better than it because it's another H ship. We got Houndstooth. It's coming in at number 2, and just go ahead and speculate what number 1 is. It's going to be a while before we get to it, but I'd like to hear. If you want to comment now what you think number 1 is, I'd love to hear from you. If you do that before you actually skip ahead and see it. But Home 1 is a fantastic ship. It's long considered the best ship in the game. Just the quintessential tank. The protection up is crazy. New ships, they always build something in to get around it, but Leviathan can't get by the Houndstooth without an insta-kill. Profundity has trouble unless you get to the ultimate. It's just the most durable ship out there. It's a fantastic, fantastic ship and top priority for newer accounts. Moving on, we have the Hyena Bomber, and that is mid-A tier. It is definitely the backbone of that Malevolence fleet, a fleet that barely needs any ships. This is the one that stays alive so that all those soulless Viper droids, Vulture droids can fly around and get out the Buzz droids and make Malevolence do its thing. Ignoring taunts is great, very durable. AoE Buzz droids, I think it's a very solid ship. Next, we got the IG-2000, and that is a solid member of the Executor fleet. I have it towards the top of B tier. Love the double tapping, love the stun, love the regeneration. Great damage overall on the ship. And after that, we got Imperial TIE Fighter, and this is a crewless ship. For right now, it's the highest ranking crewless ship on the board. Mid-A tier, and it's mainly this high just because it destroys Profundity, and in my opinion, I think Profundity is probably the best fleet in the game. I think it edges out Leviathan in many ways, but not going to dive in too much on that there. but Type Armor shuts it down just because it has such a great effect against rebels. The burning, you can bring it in as a reinforcement. As long as you get to that, you're pretty much home free against profundity, and then it can deal out another layer of burning and prevent all the assists and lower their evasion. It's just fantastic. Great ship. And next up, we got the Imperial TIE Fighter, and this is an oldie but a goodie. It is, in my opinion, it's still a very useful ship. Top of the B tier. Very crucial in a lot of counters just because it's very fast. It can guarantee that it gets Foresight, and then when it has Foresight, or when it dodges, but Foresight guarantees the dodge pretty much, you get 50% turn meter to the capital ship as long as it's Empire. Or maybe it's just flat out 50% for any ship. Early on in the game, when I found this out, I really improved my fleet game. This is back in 2019, because I was like, I just need to make sure this ship gets dodges. So I built up my TIE Fighter and didn't regret it. So really love this ship. High B tier for it. On deck, we're into the J's now, is Jedi Consular Starfighter, and this is our first F tier ship. Not really much of a use at all. It does recover protection when you reinforce, and it can call an assist, but it doesn't really have a home. The only time I use it is if I'm using First Order to try to counter Executor, and it's like one of my last reinforcements, because maybe the assist will help out. But other than that, pretty useless. After him, we got the Kylo Ren Command Shuttle, and this is it. It edged out into the B tier for me. It has a lot of great utility. It's a very bloated kit because it has 3 specials, and it's hard to know what they all do. But it really just makes the fleet work. It can give so much turn meter out to the whole team and grant bonus turn, or 100% turn meter to High Silencer. It helps really ramp up that damage. And it can dispel. Just a really great Swiss Army knife of a ship. Moving on, we got Lando's Millennium Falcon. That is top of the D tier for me. In theory, it can be strong, but it's like fleet matches don't last long enough for it to get its real power. It gets an extra turn for each previous reinforcement before it, so you max out when it's the last reinforcement. Usually the game is the match is decided by then. Other than that, not a great ship. They try to force you to use it in territory battle in the starting lineup, which is kind of dumb. But yeah, not doing too much. After that, we got the Mark 6 Interceptor, and I am giving it the nod for S tier. Towards the bottom of S tier, mind you, but the insta-kill and the basic alone is enough to merit consideration, and I actually think it's a very durable ship. Unless it's getting attacked by the Outrider under a Profundity fleet, it is super durable. It can take 100,000 damage. It's only 2 stacks, and it can recover just 10 stacks in 1 turn. So the sky's the limit for its survivability if you're facing any other fleet. Has to be, the only downside is it has to be the second reinforcement or later to get that insta-kill off securely. But just a fantastic ship. Really the only hope that Leviathan has to take out a Rebel Y-Wing, which is kind of funny. And the next one we got is MG-100 Star Fortress, coming in at the bottom of B tier. It's a tank. Resistance needs a tank, and it's actually pretty good at keeping them alive. Still one of the worst fleets in the game, but I think it's pretty solid. It was a much-needed addition to the fleet, but they still need a little bit more. And next we have the Outrider, Mr. Dash Rendar's ship, and it's towards the mid-bottom of A tier. It is, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic on the Profundity fleet. Really has no plug-and-play viability because it's all about that fleet, charging up the ultimate, tons of extra little attacks. Most of the damage it does is through Profundity's unique with extra damage per instance of damage, otherwise pretty weak. But that place on that best fleet is enough to put it in the A tier. Definitely a necessary component in that starting lineup, and part of a 3-man against Leviathan that is very reliable. And next we got the Phantom, which might be surprising. I put it in A tier just because it's very unique to be able to speed up reinforcements. Super valuable. Sometimes, I don't know, you can use it outside the Rebel fleet. You can use it anywhere as long as you're just trying to get extra reinforcements, and that's the value of it to me. I also think it has a pretty big hit on that second special that you can't underestimate. Always my favorite reinforcement to bring in Fleet Arena. Another kind of utility reinforcement is Plo Koon, and it's A tier, and it's really just a great utility character, a great utility ship with a mass cleanse, the turn meter gain, works especially well in the negotiator fleet, but you can use it elsewhere too if you just need a cleanse. Mass cleanses are hard to come by in ships, So that's why Plo Koon merits at least A tier in my eyes. And after Plo Koon, we have Poe. Poe Dameron's X-Wing. It's C tier, lower C tier. It does do good damage, but again, it's on that one of those worst fleets in the game, so it's hard to give it much higher than that. That being said, if you are using it on offense, he's one of the ones you're kind of happy you get around to his turn, because if they have no protection, you're going to get a big hit out. And kind of a disappointing ship that's up next is the Raven's Claw, and that's just because it's supposed to replace the Millennium Falcon on a Home 1 fleet, but it doesn't really do that great of a job of doing it. I don't know how much you can even take out with that, but you can't run it with Profundity, so it's stuck with Home 1. And the best it can be, in my opinion, is just kind of an annoying ship on defense. Otherwise, it doesn't really accomplish much. But I was thinking it'd be required for Galactic Legend Leia, but it wasn't, so I don't know. Might be able to skip it. Next up, we got the Razor Crest, and the Razor Crest is a fantastic ship, the first Conquest unit we had, and it is one of the backbones of that Executor fleet. It's pretty much the only one that's always going to be in the starting lineup. It's like the Giant Revan of ships. That's what I heard Arnold say right at the beginning, and I think it's an apt description. He can target enemies outside of taunt, can mark them if the conditions are right, call assists. It's very durable. It can kind of save himself after he dies once, comes back with a second life. So fantastic ship, top of A tier there. Rebel Y-Wing is where we're at now, and that is mid-high A tier, right next to its nemesis, the TIE Bomber. The Rebel Y-Wing is such a good pilot of this ship, and it's just because of how the Profundity works, because he can't crit. But this ship recovers so much. When you crit, it acts as a medic for the whole fleet, so it's just fantastic. And the only reason you're not seeing that apply as much is if you're doing mirrors, you're not critting. But it's still fantastic. Leviathan can't kill it unless they get the skill, which is kind of sad. But excellent ship, high A tier for that. Resistance X-Wing is coming up next, and that is low D tier. Bad fleet, doesn't do too much, bring too much to the table. Sometimes people, it's the worst. It's like the worst resistance ship. It's the worst ship on a bad fleet. So that's all I'll say there. I don't even know too much what it does. After that, we got Rex's Arc 170, bottom of C tier. The biggest thing I like about it is it gives a little bit of extra tenacity out, and it can grant turn meter and protection recovery to another ship of its choice, which is kind of useful, but not enough to bump it up any higher than that. I thought giving it C tier was just the least I could do. Speaking of resistance, the best ship on that fleet is actually pretty impressive. Raised Millennium Falcon. I'm giving it mid B tier. It does a lot of damage. It's very annoying. It counterattacks a lot, and it can get super big damage when it has enough buffs. An AoE that can ruin your day if you don't control it. It can wipe out a lot of your supporting ships. So I can't slight it too much. It could honestly, if Resistance fleet itself was better, it would probably be A tier. But since the fleet itself is so weak, B tier will have to do for it. Next, we got a Sith ship that is a little bit disappointing, the Scimitar. Scimitar is not its heyday with Leviathan. You don't really need it. If you get to the point where you're at the third reinforcement, either you've won or you lost usually. All it does is hide people. It gives like retribution out, but it doesn't do good damage, not super durable. It's a really lackluster ship, and if it weren't for Leviathan, it'd probably be even lower on this list. Next up, we have another S tier ship, Scythe. And I am a huge fan of the Scythe, but it is not the best fleet in the game. I put it at number 4 fleet, and some people, I always hear comments when I'm talking about how much I love Scythe. They're like, oh, you don't even need it to beat Profundity with Executrix. You don't even need it to beat Chimera, or Executor with Chimera. Each of those counters, yes, they can work without them, but they're so dicey. This, if you know what you're doing, it makes it almost a guaranteed win against 2 of the top 3 fleets in the game. It's an army unto itself. If you bring it with the Executrix, you get 2 extra ships, which, if nothing else, are nice warm bodies. Forces taunts on TIE fighters, which I love that interaction. That is so fun to me. Formation, when you dispel all the buffs, not only is it dispelling buffs on the enemy, it gives you so much so much extra damage. Like in some grand arenas, I've done like 200k basics after getting a bunch of formation. It's against like the resistance fleet given, but I think it's just so strong. It actually can inflict fear, it heals up. The only reason it has problems is because they program all AI to target it. This is just a fantastic ship through and through. Definitely high S tier. Moving on, we got Sith Fighter, and Sith Fighter is honestly a pretty bad ship, but it's towards the top of C tier. This is going to be a ship that, unfortunately, a lot of high-end players, I don't think I will, a lot of high-end players are going to end up putting extra relics on their Sith Fighter, because whoever has the fastest Sith Fighter in a mirror can win, I think just because of the turn meter it gives out when it hits under protection. But just a weak ship. I mean, the foresight is kind of nice. I honestly give it a higher. It's just, I think it's a flimsy ship. I don't really like it. It's just, it doesn't make for a fun experience. After that, we got Slave 1. Slave 1, I love Slave 1. High B tier, top of B tier, actually. Just a great ship in that executor fleet. Most of the time you bring it out first. It does so many great things. AoE ability block, Bwang, that hits under protection, Dispel on the basic, the taunt, Force Taunt Retribution, which is really nice. Really helps get you to your ultimate fast. So, fantastic ship. Now we got Sunfax Starfighter. So we got kind of all the Geonosians in a line here. I think this is definitely the B tier ship out of the Geonosians. But it is a pretty durable tank, and the best thing about it, other than that, is irresistible stun, and it has a taunt that keeps coming back whenever they have buffs. Very nice. Top of A tier, we got TIE Advance ×1 or X1. Super great ship, great damage. I mean, it's basically mainly just a basic, but it's unique. It's great because it allows you, in conjunction with another ship, allows you to bring in a reinforcement early, which is the key component in a lot of fantastic Empire fleets. And it's all possible because of Darth Vader. It also has the Sith tag, so maybe you can do something with it on Leviathan fleet. Speaking of Leviathan fleet, the usual starter is TIE Dagger, and it's pretty much gets the nod by default. I think, I mean, you don't have to start it if you're doing a mirror, like you use Sith Fighter there, but it doesn't do enough damage for me to be really impressed. It's not like it's Pilot, Sith Trooper, but it is the in the starting lineup of that like Leviathan fleet, which is an amazing fleet. So I have to give it the nod there, but it doesn't feel like it does too much damage. Okay, and now here's the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the #1 ship in the game, in my opinion, and that is the TIE Defender. I mean, yes, there are plenty of arguments you can make that any of these other ships are better than it, but this is insane. This is such an insane ship. When it dodges and it's under a Empire ship, you get 60% turn meter. And like sometimes it'll just attack twice, dodge twice. Okay, you just got to turn right after it came out. And unlike the TIE Fighter, not only does it get more turn meter for dodging, it can give itself foresight way easier. And it has its own way of taunting, resilient defense, or whatever it is. It's forcing you to attack it, you get tons of turn meter, and the damage is out of this world. It is crazy. It does a triple hit on its basic, incredible. People will lose their whole fleet and just have this left as long as it's under Chimera, and you just win. Like, you keep dodging left and right. Like, you can be an executor like this. Keep dodging left and right. They can't hit you. Just get more turns, and then you keep it alive, heal it up. It keeps dodging. They can barely hurt it because it always dodges, and then you just annihilate them. I love it. I mean, you have to use it right. It has to be a reinforcement, but it is just so much fun. Just the strongest ship. It makes Houndstooth, it's like, I don't know. It dominates Houndstooth. It is just so good. I can't say enough about it. Every time I use it, I am just in shock of how much damage it does, and the irresistible stun. It's so good, guys. Just so good. Okay, I think I've said my piece now. It is so good, you get it. Next up, we got TIE Echelon. This is the tank for First Order. Helps you beat Executor with First Order, which is pretty impressive on its own. Just very durable, has a lot of recovery, call assists, just kind of a nice solid ship, so mid-B tier there. After that, we got TIE Reaper, and this is, it's like whatever. This is actually kind of what made me inspired to do a tier list for all ships, because this is the last ship I had that wasn't at 7-star. I just did not farm it for the longest time because there's no need to. It's not required for anything. It's not good, but I just, last week, finished it off to 7 stars. The only thing that's kind of nice about its kit, it has a Dispel and can remove turn meter from the enemy capital ship. This is what people use to counter Executor with Chimera, but it's going to be a bad banners win. It's basically just a sitting duck when you put it in the starting lineup. It's just there to be an Empire ship in the starting lineup when we've already used most of your fleet. You kind of profundity with Executrix, but it itself is pretty bad, so mid-D tier there. Another S tier ship, we got the TIE Silencer, and this is just because of how much damage it does. It's stun on the basic, crazy damage, ramps up under the finalizer because it has that like overcharge or turbo booster buff for it. What does it actually get? Afterburner. And it just does tons of damage. I've seen it do like over 500,000, just nuts. Next up, we got another S tier ship, the TIE Interceptor. And this is, you know, it has to go. TIE Interceptor, TIE Defender, and Darth Vader have to go together because these two allow you to bring out TIE Defender first and just wreck people's faces. But I love TIE Interceptor, Mass Dispel, Mass Cleanse. You can make an easy argument to have it above Anakin. I don't know. I kind of like Anakin. It does great damage too. Can kind of mark someone, but it's just for itself that it can target outside of taunt. Just a fantastic ship, and that is all for the S tier. Next up, we got Umbaran Starfighter, and that fills out the B tier, right kind of in the middle there. I prefer to use this when I use Negotiator on offense. I like how it works more. Offense down, defense down on the basic. Ramps up his damage over time. It can have kind of an AoE if there's enough target locks out there. But I don't like that it gives turn meter to the enemy ship, which really knocks it down a peg, but that actually does help out in my counter to Malevolence. Moving on, we have Vulture Droid, and top of C tier, you know, might be able to do B tier, but the ship itself isn't that great. It's just that when you have a lot of them, it makes an impact. I do like how when you reinforce, you can inflict blind on the enemy team. That's kind of useful. But overall, it's just kind of a flimsy ship, and it has to have a bunch of them to get things done. And we just showed recently the best ship in the game. This is the worst ship in the game, in my opinion. Wedge Antilles Starfighter doesn't do anything good. Or not anything. It inflicts buff immunity, which in the right circumstances, maybe you can take out a Houndstooth with that if you're doing like Finalizer versus Executor. But otherwise, pretty useless. Doesn't have a real home in the game. And the last ship, not least, is Xanadu Blood. Right next to his buddy Razor Crest. I love Xanadu Blood. I love, if I'm using it, if it's my Xanadu Blood, it's stealth. The AoE, all the extra damage for breach is what's most useful to me. Can double tap sometimes, but you know, it's not so reliable. But I love all the extra damage it brings. If I lose my Xanadu Blood and I'm using Executor, you really feel it because your damage just plummets when you're not damaging people with breach. That is just a key component in all the damage there, and it's my favorite in the starting lineup. I like to use this with the tank, but it's also in that triple attacker starting lineup, so just an awesome ship there. Alright guys, that is it. That is all of them. I got through them all. Hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about every ship in the game, and this was really fun for me to do. We don't have too many ships, so they can all fit on one tier list like this. Let me know what you think. I love to hear people's different opinions. And I can tell there could be disagreements, but I stick by the TIE Defender is the best ship in the game. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and sub, and I'll see you guys later.